In this video, I'll be showing you how to install an aftermarket head unit in your vehicle. The first thing you'll need to do is to remove your current head unit. If you have a stock head unit, there's various tools and methods you may have to use in order to remove it. If you have an aftermarket head unit already installed, like this one, there's different ways it could be connected to the car. It could be screwed in to the car with some of these holes, or it may have a metal sleeve like this. And if it has the metal sleeve like this, it locks in to the radio on each side with these tabs. And the way to remove it is you have these two metal tools. You slide one into this side and slide one into this side, and then you just pull the head unit right out. Alright, I just got my stereo removal tools fresh from China, so now I can go ahead and show you how to remove an aftermarket radio. This will only work for radios with sleeves. The kinds that are bolted in, you have to remove dash components typically to get them out. So first, remove the face plate if you have a detachable face plate. Then we remove the bezel and insert the tools at each side. Press them back. And it should snap into the tabs. There we go. Then we just pull it right out and detach the wires at the back. The next thing we have to do is wire up the head unit to the vehicle. There's different ways you can do this, but the way I prefer is to use an adapter harness like this. The way the adapter harness works is it plugs directly into your stock radio's wire harness. Then you simply wire up your new head unit's wire harness to the adapter harness. And when you wire it up, you should always check your color codes first for your vehicle, or for your adapter, and for your new head unit's wire harness. Generally, if you get the adapter and you have a aftermarket radio, the wires pretty much all have the same color, so you can usually just splice them into their corresponding colors, and that should be it. But you should always check your color codes just to be safe. Alright, now I'm going to give you the color codes for my head unit. Like I said, you should always check the color codes for your specific equipment, because the color codings may be different on sub-head units. But for my head unit, it's a pretty common color coding system, so I'll go ahead and name it off to you. First off, we have red. This is switched 12 volts, so when you turn on the ignition switch, this wire gains 12 volt. Then you have the yellow, which is for the memory. This is constant 12 volt. Then we have the black wire, which is a ground wire. It could also be ground off to the chassis. We have blue/white, which means the wire is blue and it has a white line through it. This is the remote wire. This is used typically for if you have a power antenna, or you can use it for a subwoofer. It has different purposes, but it gains 12 volt when the head unit is powered on. Alright, then we have the wires for the speakers. For my head unit, it has outputs for 4 speakers. Each speaker has 2 wires which are the same color, but the thing that makes the wires different is that one of them will have a black stripe through it. The black stripe indicates that that's the negative output for that specific speaker. So first we have 2 which are purple, and those are for the right rear. Then we have 2 gray, and the gray are for the right front. And then we have 2 green, and the green are for the left rear. And then we have 2 white, and the white are for the left front. And so that's all the wires for my head unit. The next thing you should do is to temporarily connect all the wires and test the head unit. It's a good idea to do this before permanently bonding the wires together, so that if anything isn't connected properly, then you can make adjustments and switch wires before everything's permanently done. So I already have that done with mine, and best thing to do is to just cut the sheaths off the wires and just wrap them together like this, and then just you can cover them up with some electrical tape or something like that. Right now I just have shrink tubing over them because I'm going to be soldering my wires. So then you could go ahead and test it, which I've already done with mine, and everything works well with it. You should check all 4 of your speakers and, you know, test out the unit, make sure everything's functioning properly. If it's working properly, then you should have it all wired correctly, and you can go ahead and permanently bond the wires together. There's different ways you can do that. One option is to use these. These are pretty simple to use. They have 2 ends where you put each one of the wires in, and then you use a tool like this to crimp them onto the wires. But what I'm going to be doing, like I said, is to just solder the wires. Soldering is the best way to connect wires usually. It's a permanent connection and it'll last. And if you don't know how to solder, you can also watch my video about how to solder. Otherwise, you could use these connections like this. You know, it'll all work. So the next thing will be to install my sleeve. And if your car does require a sleeve like this, you'll notice that it has these different little cutouts in the metal, and they're made to bend out once you install it into your vehicle, and that'll keep it locked in there. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in, push all the way back. I can go ahead and bend down these tabs. Alright, I'm going to tighten this up a bit more. I'm going to bend down those tabs a little better, but as you can see, now it's pretty much locked in there. Alright, now I have my wiring done, so I can go ahead and attach everything and install the radio. For my install, I went ahead and left the wires pretty much at full length, and that's because it gives me an advantage, because when I plug in the connector, I can position the connector back in a little space back there so that it'll keep it out of the way. For some people, it may be better to just have the wires shorter, you know, have the wires, maybe that'll give you a better advantage, having less wire to take up space. It just depends on your specific install. So the wires I have here, go ahead and plug this in. Okay. The wires I have here is for the main wire harness for the head unit. Got my RCA cables for my subwoofer. I got the antenna wire, and I also have my remote wire for my subwoofer, this blue wire, which I have connected back in there. Okay. And so now I can go ahead and push this connection back into the little cubby hole, get it out of the way. As you can see, now that's out of the way, and I can go ahead and connect all the wires.
Alright, now when you push the head unit back, you want to make sure it goes smoothly in. You know, if you feel any resistance, don't force it in. See, mine snapped right in with no resistance. If there's resistance, it could mean that the wires are in the way, and if you force it, it could damage the wires. So you don't want to force it, you want it to go in smoothly like that. Alright, now all I have to do is put on the trim. Okay. And then just attach my faceplate, and that's it. Then go ahead and test it, make sure it powers on. Yep. So that's it. Hope this video helps you with installing your head unit, and thank you for watching.